Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is today I'm going to skip the alphabet. I think I'm up to D or C or D in the alphabet tags that Jim's books reading and stuff has been doing. He specifically tagged me in the K tag and others on BookTube who have K in their name. And so I decided to go ahead and skip and do this. And I think what I'll do is try to organize my very first playlist and have all the tags in order, all the alphabet tags in order in that playlist. And so eventually I'll do the other tags before that. But I want to go ahead and do the K tag now, specifically because I was tagged. Okay, so the first prompt is K is for Kite Runner. Have you read the Kite Runner and what did you think about the book? No. This was one of those books that I kept meaning to read and just never got around to it. K is for Kafka. How has a writer who never finished a novel so permeate our culture as to have an adjective named after him? I didn't know that he never finished anything. Which is your favorite of Kafka's novels? I don't have a favorite. I've only read one, and that was because we were told to read it in school, and that's The Metamorphosis. K is for King. Which is your favorite novel by Stephen King? This was difficult. I think I would say The Stand because I really enjoyed the world, and I think at the time that I read it, I was at the peak of what I think Walking Dead was at its peak, and so I felt like those two worlds kind of collided for me, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that book a lot, and I've read it more than once, so I think that backs up the fact that I really like that book, because I don't know if there's other books other than On Writing. Actually, I'm going to say On Writing. I've read On Writing, because you didn't say it had to be fiction. I've read On Writing over and over and over again. I love his thoughts about writing. I love how kind of like honest and pure his voice comes through. I like just hearing him talk, and I like just reading his ideas. So On Writing by Stephen King is actually my favorite book of his. Number 4 is K is for Kennedy. Have you done the JFK tag created by Very Literary Kari? I have, but I haven't put it up yet. But yes, I have done it. I videoed it. K is for Kirk. Who is your favorite Star Trek character? I grew up with my dad watching Star Trek. He loved it. I left home very early, but he continued on watching all of them. So Captain Kirk was gorgeous, but he actually has the actor has grown into be kind of a crotchety old man. But the new Captain Kirk, or the more recent Captain Kirk, Chris Pine, can get it. So yeah, Kirk. K is for Korea. Can you recommend a book or author from Korea, North or South? I have not read a book from Korea, and that's crazy because I lived there for a year. But no, I have not read any books from Korea. K is for Kindle. What are you currently reading on your Kindle? I'm reading The Cry of the Lake by Charles Tyler, and I'm using reading very loosely because I think I read the first chapter a month ago, put the Kindle back in my night table drawer, and haven't picked it back up again. But that's the latest book that I've read on Kindle. K is for Killer. What book from your reading took you into the mind of a killer? I just finished a book called The Doctor last night, and it was from the point of view of, well, it was multiple POVs, but the majority of the time we spend in this guy's head who is obsessed with becoming, like, perfecting the body to be ready to be cryogenically frozen. And in doing that, he starts working on animals and moves up to like old people and stuff like that, and then eventually he kidnaps his neighbor to try to do it to her. So he's like, and you're in his mind, and it's really creepy. He's just a really creepy killer. So that was the latest book that I read where I was in the mind. It's The Doctor by Lisa Stone. K is for Kind. What kind of books don't you read? I don't read Christian fiction, self-help, and then like gruesome torture porn just for the sake of gruesome torture porn. Super science fiction books I pass up, and I really have kind of narrowed down that I like speculative fiction where there's a touch of science fiction but there's some other stuff going on in it. But if the cover just has like a moon and a guy in a mecha suit or something, I'm not gonna buy the book. I don't normally like cowboy books, cowboy romances, things like that. And I'm not really into YA fantasy anymore. I think I burnt out my brain on that reading Twilight and the Vampire Diaries and the first 3 books that Cassandra Clare put out and Hunger Games. I read all of that stuff, and it was just a different type of reading. I was in my 20s when I was reading it, but it was a different kind of book. And I guess YA has been around all the time, but for the most part, we were kind of forced to read that stuff in school. And so reading YA just for the fun of it and have it be paranormal or dystopian and all that stuff, that's another thing. I don't like dystopian books unless you consider some of the zombie books that I like, but those books go back to that specific thing that I like, where it's a group of people who are friends or found family that work their way through this horrible situation with ingenuity, cooperation, humor, and so there's 2 post-apocalyptic books like that are not just about dudes shooting up zombies. It's more about the relationships. So dudes just being action dudes, no, I'm not interested in those kind of books. And I guess high fantasy, I've found very inaccessible to myself for the most part. I'm hoping to change that with a book that I have from N.K. Jemisin. And I don't know if Game of Thrones is considered high fantasy, but it was quite inaccessible to me at first. I just found that I needed to keep trying to read it because my husband loved it so much. And so that was something I wanted to relate to him with. And just by continually reading it or I tried to watch the show at first. I didn't like it. Then when the Red Wedding happened, I watched that, and it was just like, what? And so then I went back and was able to watch the show up into the point where it was, and then I wanted all the backstory on all the people, and that's what fully got me immersed. So if there's something like that can kind of help me get into something inaccessible, like a really, really high fantasy sort of book, then maybe. It didn't work with Lord of the Rings. I watched all the Lord of the Rings movies. They were okay. Still didn't make it so that I could read the books. So those are the kind of books I don't read, but never say never. And that is the K tag. Thank you so much, Jim, for tagging me in it. And I am going to say that if you want to do this tag, you're tagged, you're it. And especially if your name starts with K, go ahead and do that. And let's see. Let's just put a kite as our emoji of the day. And in honor of Kite, I guess in honor of the Kite Runner, which I have not read, which I should have read by now. And let's see. So that's it. Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.